Some lives begin with a promise. Before Isaac ever took his first breath, before he ever opened his eyes, God had already spoken his future. He was not an accident. He was not a backup plan. He was the fulfillment of a word spoken decades earlier. Isaac is the child of promise, born from the impossible. Abraham is 100 years old. Sarah is 90. Their bodies have long passed the age of possibility. The tent has known years of waiting, tears, silence. And then, against biology, against logic, against time itself, Isaac is born. His name means laughter. Because when Sarah first heard she would bear a son, she laughed in disbelief. But when she finally held him in her arms, she laughed with joy. Isaac's very existence is proof that God's promises do not expire. He is not born because Abraham was strong. He is not born because Sarah figured it out. He is born because God is faithful. A son carried to the mountain. But Isaac's life is not just about miraculous birth. One of the most dramatic moments in Genesis happens when Isaac is still a boy. God asks Abraham to sacrifice him, the very child through whom the covenant is supposed to continue. Isaac walks beside his father up Mount Moriah, carrying the wood for the offering. He notices something missing. "Father, where is the lamb?" Abraham answers, "God will provide." In that moment, Isaac becomes more than a promised child. He becomes a picture of trust. We are not told of protest. We are not told of resistance. The narrative moves with quiet weight. And at the last moment, God provides a ram in the thicket. Isaac comes down the mountain alive. The promise remains intact. His life continues not because of chance, but because God intervenes. Living in the shadow of greatness. Isaac grows up in the shadow of Abraham. His father is a patriarch, a trailblazer of faith, a man who walked with God into unknown lands. Isaac's story feels quieter. He does not leave his homeland like Abraham. He does not wrestle like Jacob. He does not rule like Joseph. He stays. He digs wells. He reopens the wells his father had dug, restoring what had been stopped up. And that is significant. Isaac represents continuity. Not every calling is dramatic. Some are steady. Some are about preserving what has already been promised. When conflict arises over the wells, Isaac chooses peace instead of war. He moves, digs again, trusts again. Eventually, he names a well Rehoboth, saying, "Now the Lord has given us room and we will flourish." His life reflects quiet perseverance. The covenant confirmed. God appears to Isaac personally and repeats the covenant promise. "I will make your descendants as numerous as the stars in the sky, and through your offspring all nations on earth will be blessed." The promise is not recycled out of obligation. It is reaffirmed intentionally. Isaac is not merely Abraham's son. He is a chosen link in an unfolding plan. Through him will come Jacob. Through Jacob, Israel. Through Israel, a story that stretches beyond Genesis. The covenant continues. Flawed but faithful. Isaac, like his father, stumbles. He also lies about his wife, Rebekah, calling her his sister out of fear. The same weakness appears again. The covenant does not rest on flawless character. It rests on God's faithfulness. Isaac is human. He fears. He ages. He struggles with family division between his sons Esau and Jacob. But the promise remains steady. What Isaac represents? Isaac represents the continuation of what God starts. He is living evidence that promises move forward across generations. He teaches us that faith is not always loud. Sometimes it looks like redigging old wells, choosing peace over conflict, trusting the same God your parents trusted, passing on what you received. He shows us that being part of God's plan does not require dramatic headlines. It requires faithfulness. Closing reflection. Isaac's life began with laughter. It was almost cut short on a mountain. It unfolded in quiet faithfulness. And it carried forward a covenant bigger than himself. He was not the architect of the promise. He was the carrier of it. And maybe that is what makes his story powerful. You do not have to start the promise. You do not have to see its full completion. You simply have to carry it forward. Isaac's life reminds us that when God makes a promise, he sustains it across time, across generations, across human weakness. The same God who spoke to Abraham walked with Isaac. The same God who begins, finishes. And sometimes, your greatest role is not to create the promise, but to faithfully continue it.